I've been having trouble with my propane stove. When I go to light it up, it doesn't stay lit. So I can light it, but then it goes out when I release the button. And I have plenty of propane, and this has been going on for about 10 months. So the other burner works just fine. So I had a repair person come look at the propane stove, and they did an analysis on it and provided me with an estimate to get the stove repaired. They said that it was a thermocoupler that needed to be replaced in one of the burners, and it's going to cost me $293.87 to get a thermocoupler installed on this right burner. And he did advise me that if I was handy, I could probably do it myself for a lot cheaper. So the first thing I'm going to do is see if I can do it myself. So the first thing you want to do is turn off the propane, unhook it. Okay, make sure that it's totally off. So you want to bleed the lines to make sure that there's no propane left in here. So there's none in there on that right side, and there's none on this left side either. Once I make sure that there's no propane left in the lines, and I've shut off the propane, now I'm going to take off these little black little rubber holders, and you can just pull them off with a flathead screwdriver, or just pull them off yourself. Not a big deal. The next thing I did was I went out to Harbor Freight and purchased myself some of these tools. I've actually had them. I didn't need them for this particular project, but I'm going to use them for this project. I got these to repair a Viking sewing machine that was giving me some trouble. And I don't know the official name of these kind of tools, but they have these interesting little heads to them to allow you to unscrew the propane stove. So the one that actually works for this propane stove is the T10. So all you need to do is unscrew it. And you want to do that to all 4 of the screws to remove them, so you can lift up the propane stove and look underneath it. One thing you might want to do is take these screws down to your local hardware store and get Phillips heads, the same size, but get steel or Phillips heads, and replace it so you don't have to have this kind of special tool, and maybe you have this in your toolbox or whatever, but that's just a suggestion instead of having to carry this around when you have to make repairs to your propane stove. So I'm going to go ahead and take out all 4 of these screws, and we'll check back with you. So once you get all those unscrewed, then you want to take them and put them in a safe place so you don't lose them. Then go ahead and close the lid because it's a glass lid. And go ahead and lift up and you can turn over the propane stove. Be very careful because this is glass underneath and you don't want to scratch it. So what I found out is that I was actually missing a screw back here. So this entire plate has come off, and that's like a safety plate, I guess, that covers the thermocouplers. And I had gone down to the hardware store and bought the screws that go in there to cover this up, but it has since fallen off again, so I'm going to have to run back down to the hardware store to get the appropriate screws for this again. So this is the lid, and it had fallen off, and it was down below by the microwave, and it shows you that I'm missing those screws that go on the back to cover up the thermocoupler. And additionally, this is a good time while you have the propane stove out to look behind here and see anything that you have that's dropped behind the counter, or the cupboard, I should say. And you can see I have some Tupperware because of the design of that cupboard. And I'm going to go ahead and pull that stuff out. That's something else that I need to fix, is the kitchen cupboard and the way it's designed. So I got some screws down at the hardware store, and I got a couple. I ended up finding one of these screws behind the microwave, thankfully, so I could match it up. And I got a second one at the hardware store, and then also picked up these at the hardware store to install these in the event that they might be able to stay in a little bit better versus the Phillips heads. I'm going to try that with this socket wrench. One thing I want to do before I put the plate back on the back is make sure all of these fittings are tight. These are the thermocouplers, these green items, and they're supposed to last about 12 years. So I can't imagine that they would be bad at this point. I don't want to have to replace them until I just get this plate on and see if that will resolve the problem. Maybe there's a safety mechanism that prevents the propane stove from working if this plate isn't on. I don't know. So I'm going to go ahead and install this plate back where it was with the new screws. I could use Loctite on these to keep them in place, but I will need to be getting back here to change out the thermocoupler if that is indeed the problem. So I don't want to put a permanent solution on there. I'm going to go ahead and tighten this down. So I've got both of those installed pretty tight. So now I'm going to go ahead and put this back together and see if that resolves the issue. So I put the oven back in its place, and now I'm going to go ahead and put the screws back in. So once all the 4 screws are in tight, then go ahead and put these little rubber covers on. And I actually think the covers are to protect the glass cover from hitting against the metal. That's what I think that they're there for. And those just pop right back in. No special tools needed to put them in or remove them. Now I'm going to go hook up the propane outside and see if it works. So I just hooked up the propane and made sure that everything was good outside. Now I'm going to try to light this up. And the right one lights up. And the left one lights up. So I didn't need a thermocoupler. I guess something might have gotten loose down there. Obviously the panel that goes in the back, the cover does. Maybe there's a safety mechanism that it doesn't work that great when, or work at all when the cover isn't there. I'm not sure, but it seems to be working now, and it'll be nice to have this right burner working. So again, it didn't take a lot of effort. I know nothing about propane stoves, just what I showed you today, and I saved myself $293.87. Thanks for watching.